What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we're here with Sulo of Diamond Dogs. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much because we got some great new Diamond Dogs to close or to start the new year off with. Thank you for giving us some good old rock and roll to begin 2022 off with. We got Slap Bang Blue Rendezvous. How was the overall making of this album? Was it like a different approach than Set Fire to It All or Recall Rock and Roll and the Magic Soul? How did Slap Bang Blue Rendezvous sort of see the light of day?
Well, before this pandemic happened, we decided to go back to our old producer, Thomas Coxberry, who's well known for, Helicopters and Backyard Babies. We worked with him the first time almost 30 years ago in the Sunlight Studio. So he's also very famous for the as a death metal producer, but for Entombed and Dismember and bands like that. But his own influences his biggest influence is Beatles and David Bowie. And we've done like 4 albums with him, and the last one was 14 years ago. So we kind of, said, are we going to go back to him? And then I started to write songs and send it. I think I sent him 38 songs or something. And his dream has always been to do a white album of his own, a Beatles white album. So he said, let's do a double album. And it was probably a good time of doing a double album because the gigs weren't happening, so we had nothing else to do. So that's how it started.
Oh, really? Well, I was because I know knowing your producer's work. I mean, I thought maybe and hearing that you were working with him, I thought maybe that Diamond. It would be really funny if you guys just did a straight death metal album and completely shock your fans.
Well, the thing is, he always produced death metal albums as he produced like punk bands or like glam rock bands. He makes no difference. That's the secret behind him. That's why Entombed sounded like they sounded, because he produced them as he should have. He would have produced like a hard rock 70s blues band.
Yeah, but I feel like it's almost a law in Sweden now that everybody has to have some sort of work with death metal. Like here in America, we have to serve jury duty. In Sweden, you all have to serve death metal somehow.
Well, I don't know. Nick Anderson of Helicopters tried to convince me to. I mean, he even invited me to an Entombed gig, but then we kind of found out I can't really understand it. It was a bit death metal for me is like it's a different language. I don't understand it. But I mean, they're really good musicians. I think it's too bad they spend their time playing death metal.
Shots
That's what I
fired.
told him.
Shots. But being that this is a double album, and it's funny that you referenced the White Album because actually when I heard of this double album and listened to like all the elements incorporated in it, I actually thought of maybe Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusion in a way. Actually, that's the kind of double album that I sort of thought of. Was that at all maybe
Yeah.
something you were thinking of?
No, not at all. The thing is, to be honest, now I know I'm speaking with an American channel at the moment, but the laws of this album was made by Thomas Coxberry, and it was going to sound like British 1973 glam rock, like Slade, Motta Hopel, T-Rex, and stuff like that. And whatever American elements he thought came in, he said, "You can't have that. That's like an American lick. We need to sound English." So his main thing was it's going to be sounding very, very English. I don't know if Guns N' Roses had that thing too, but that was his aim, because he wanted them to sound like the early 70s British thing, British glam room. If you know Slade and Motta Hopel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was his thing, and he has a plan for every song. He's like a professor. I call him like the Swedish Rick Rubin in a way, because when he make up his mind, the band can't say anything. If he can ask you, oh, you play 2 bars there, yeah, I think it should be 1, and then it's going to be 1, because he decides everything. So it's more or less. I mean, after we did it, it took a year with everything. It became his baby as much as ours, I think.
Mhm. For the making of this album, though, I mean, you mentioned that because there was plenty of time on people's hands that there was room for a double album, but like did you was this also maybe a preconceived idea? Was this something that you always wanted to do for Diamond Dogs as well?
Well, I mean, yeah, I always have had, I think there's a couple of great double albums in rock and roll history, and to make it's hard to make a good double album. A lot of people tried, and and some failed. Like Johnny Winter, he just made one and a half. He has the last vinyl side is empty with no music. You're gonna get songs enough, but you have like a couple. You have like X on Main Street with Rolling Stones. You have. The Clash, London Calling, of course. And if you make a double album, it's like in a world when music and the value of music gets less, lower and lower. A double album is kind of like a more of a piece of art. It is a double album, even if it's on Spotify or some horrible, digital thing. It's still a double album. It's someone puts thoughts of behind it. How should we do the set? What song should be where, and what kind of, So it's a bit it's trickier than to make a straight 10-song, rock and roll album. You need to add more elements to make it, kind of fit together.
Yeah, and there's also the famous saying of quality over quantity as well. Do you think that
Yeah,
lyrically you almost like it almost brings different context, or yet you approach it differently from a lyrical standpoint as well?
I think so. Yes, and I mean, Thomas picked the songs, and because when he said let's make a double, I said, do you think we have, we don't want to do an album with any fillers. No, this is going to be, it's great. And I guess my lyrics became, of course, a bit different from the situation we were living in and the pandemic and stuff. It was kind of you couldn't really avoid that. Some of the lyrics are probably darker than other lyrics I've written before for Diamond Dogs.
Mhm. Do you always needed to hear the music before you came up with lyrics, or is there a time where like a lyrical concept could influence the outcome of the music itself?
I write a lot of songs and for other artists too. That's what I've been doing during this time too, and producing other artists. But I always this might sound a bit silly, but I always start with the title, because a good song needs a good title, and when you get the title, you get kind of a melody. Makes everything in my head, and then I put it down take it out on guitar and write it down. But I'm doing everything very fast. So I can write like a song can take me 30 minutes, and from I have the title. I'm kind of a title freak. So sometimes when you hear a line or something in a film, it mess up the whole film, because the only thing I can think about is that line I need to, to use in a song.
I couldn't agree with you more. Do you know how many times like musically the song is just amazing, so compelling, but the lyrics just ruin the whole thing?
Yeah, and the thing is, I may be a bit, being so nerd about music, but if you don't know the artist or the band, and if you look at an album, and if you think, oh, they have crappy song titles, you won't even listen to it. So a good song needs a good title, and a good title can be saying that. I mean, a good title could be anything, because it all depends on how it's how it reacts on you. Like a good title can be a very, very easy phrase or common phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it also depends on the style. Like, I mean, going back to death metal, your favorite genre of all time, but like but like, Cannibal Corpse writing a song like Stripped, Raped and Strangled or Fucked with a Knife. I mean, that is what makes that death metal sound so memorable
But
and so unique.
I agree. I'm a lyric freak even when it comes to death metal, because I'm friends with Entombed and Dismember, and I kind of liked when Entombed went. I like that we were sharing the same studio when they did 666 to Ride, Shoot Straight and Speak the Truth, which is a great title of an album. I mean, that's a movie title almost. And at the same time, they went more and more kind of a rock, death and roll, or whatever they call it. More rock and roll than death metal. And at the same time, on the other side, Dismember went even more death metal, and I really loved their titles of their albums called Hate Campaign, Massive Killing Capacity, and I think the one was just called death metal. I think I kind of, so I like titles no matter if I like the genre or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and unfortunately, they say don't judge a book by its cover, don't judge a book by its title. But in reality, when people are picking up that album artwork and they're taking it in and they're, they're looking at those song titles, it is going to make them gravitate towards it more. So if the presentation
I
isn't
think
right,
so.
you know,
I mean, this double album, when it came, we had 24 tracks. And when you made 24 tracks in a year, you kind of get, is this good? Is this really good? So you need other people listening to it, and you need people you trust. And we get, the Cult, the band, the Cult.
of course.
Yeah, and the bass player of the original bass player who played on, all the way up to Sonic Temple, Jamie Stewart. He's a kind of a Diamond Dogs fan, and I said, you need to help him to pick the single. And he went through the whole album and came back first saying, it's amazing that you kind of kept that vibe through a double album, 2021, sounding exactly 1973. so that was a good thing. Then we knew we were on the right side. And then, of course, he picked 5 singles, and we tried to compare it with other people we trusted. But yeah, it was hard to pick a single out of 24.
Yeah. Being that you do put so much thought into these titles, and I think you said it was silly. I don't think it's silly at all that you think of a title before the song because I think that that's a very creative. I mean, have you ever just said a sentence and that is just the perfect title? But like,
Yeah.
do you like to leave your lyrics open to interpretation, or being that you put a lot of thought into this presentation, you try to maybe get the listener into seeing things from your point of view?
It depends on, I mean, I write in different genres. I work with Crystal Gale in Nashville, the country star, Loretta Lynn's baby sister. You know, you know anything about country?
I hate to break it to you, but no.
No, but Loretta Lynn is one of, that's your grand old lady of country. She's a famous star, and her baby sister is Crystal Gale. She got her own star at Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she's a big star. I work with her on an album now, and when it comes to writing lyrics for a country album, it's different than from other styles, because then you need to write something that people can recognize and feel in a way that they can, that could happen to them in a way like that. You know what I mean? When you write like a party, like a up tempo rock and roll song, it's different, because then you need to express another feeling, and you don't need to talk. If do you know what I mean? I think the hardest part so far for me has been writing lyrics to country songs.
Yeah.
I'm more easy to write in for Diamond Dogs.
Yeah. Well, I feel like with country though, from what I heard about it, everything is like country is, and I don't mean this as like a insult to rock and roll in any shape or form, but I feel like with country they're a lot more exposed and they're a lot more naked. They don't have as much
Yeah,
distortion or gain. So like I think every syllable sort of counts with its lyricism in a way.
and
And it,
also the phrasing. I mean, you can get away with some bad phrasing in rock and roll music. I think it should be some bad phrasing, because that adds an edge to the singing too. But when it comes to country music, everything has to be really smooth. I mean, every syllable, everything have to be there, and it's gonna sound really easy to listen to. So that's a difficult thing. But I mean, I love to have that challenge to be able to have the opportunity to write with a big country star in America. For me, that's, I mean, I'm Swedish.
yeah. That's a great thing to just put on like the application. Like, why are you best for producing this album? Because I'm Swedish. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was beautiful. But I mean, working with multiple genres and working with multiple different artists, is there maybe like sort of like a similar mindset that combines all these aspects together? Is there anything that ties the two together, or do you feel like it's a completely separate mind frame every time?
I mean, I think I'm not writing, as you understand, death metal or hip hop or stuff like that. But I mean, country, soul, pop, and rock and roll. I think are combined, because a good song is a good song, and you can hear that when someone covers an old '60s song and turns it into a punk song or into a whatever. A good song is still a good song, and I think that's the thing. It's but I mean, it's probably more difficult in country because there are so many good songs and everyone has a good song, if you know what I mean. But in rock music, you can sell. In the '70s, you could sell a band by their, by their how they looked when the glam rock came. But in the end, a good song is a good song. Take Mott Hopel, Ian Hunter, Mott Hopel. You know them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. They were going to split up just before, because they didn't break, and they just made 3 albums and played like straight out rock and roll. And then David Bowie came along and gave them All the Young Dudes, and all of a sudden, they got that song. So a good song is a good song in the end of the day. That's the thing.
Definitely. And that led me perfectly into my final question. How do you know, whether it's for Diamond Dogs or for anybody else, how do you know when you are finished with a song?
Well, this might sound a bit strange too, but I kind of decide before, because when I'm if someone, usually it goes like this: someone calls me and says, "Can you write a song for this artist?" And then I can kind of dig deep down to understand how they sound and what they want to sound like, and then I write, the song for them. And when it comes to Diamond Dogs, I am the guy who knows. I'm the creator of Diamond Dogs, so I know if it's let's do a Diamond Dog song, and I know it. Then I put myself in Diamond Dog's mood, so it's kind of different. But I do it before. I'm not writing just free form out of nowhere. If I say to myself, I'm going to do this. This title is a great country title. Let's do a country song, and then it becomes a country song. Mm. And then when it comes up with a great Diamond Dogs, title, let's do a Diamond Dog song.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like, because I've interviewed a lot of rock bands, and you are like very articulate at explaining your songwriting. It's not like, oh, I just write, or I really appreciated how you discuss your process. And I think my nickname for you now is going to be the Swedish Dr. Dre, because of how many are.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the Swedish Dr. Dre. That's or Viking Dr. Dre.
To make it even more strange, I can tell you, when I got the deal with Diamond Dog almost 30 years ago, I recorded 10 demos in a basement outside Stockholm with a guy called Martin Sandberg. We did everything by ourselves, every drums, guitar, everything. He later, a couple of years later, became Max Martin, the biggest producer in the world. So he's actually a little bit of part of Diamond Dogs, the start of Diamond Dogs. In 2008, when I recorded a solo album, I needed some really good, great male backing vocals. I called him and said, "You have to come a couple of songs for me. I won't pay you anything," because he was making a fortune in America doing Kelly Clarkson and stuff like that. Yeah. So. And even back 30 years ago, he said to me, "A good song is a good song," and you know it.
And I don't think there needs to be too much analyzing. But I am going to leave you with this before I go, though.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm going to leave you with this. Just give death metal another chance. Just give death metal.
I will.
Because
I promise.
It's one of Sweden's greatest cultural achievements, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Diamond Dogs. Be sure to check out the brand new album coming at the very beginning of 2022, Slap Bang Blue Rendezvous. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.